Greetings everyone! How goes things? Welcome to my second obscurely random drawing video where I'll be trying something a little outside of my comfort zone. Okay, so the original idea was to draw a halfling who was made to ride a boar as a direct result of losing a bet. However, while immersed in clay entertainment's Don't Starve and slowly decaying in the zombie-like catatonic state of late-night digital entrancement, an idea slowly emerged from what was left of my disintegrating brain matter. Why not mix the boar up a bit, in typical Don't Starve fashion? Hey, why not just try out the art style for fun? It's about time I drew something a little different. So, here we are, working out the framework for what is soon to be the boar boon. Upon its hairy back, I intend to draw a character with the air of a person regretting his life choices. The idea was to capture the motion of a boar boon bucking around in order to relinquish its role as the Mountee. I gave the boar boon a wide head to resemble the piggy part of the deal with tusks to match, and small eyes below a jutting brow for the baboon aspect. He needed a muscular boar build and a crooked baboon tail, the latter of which actually suited quite nicely. After that, I roughly sketched in the horrified rider with his mask of abject terror. In theory he's meant to be a halfling, and I did the proportions as such, but it didn't really come across in the end that much. Speaking of which, I said before that I was going to be doing this in the art style of Don't Starve, and if you've seen the game before, you're probably thinking this isn't quite what I had in mind. But fear not, I'm simply starting the drawing in my own style in order to get a feel for the shape and form, as this is the first time I'm even daring to attempt somebody else's art style. So, now that most of the construction lines are in place, I added some details just to remember them as I go. Just like a set of baboon fangs and an extra pair of tusks. After all, D&D style boars are meant to look mean as hell. I've currently moved to my third layer. Generally I use about 3 or 4 depending on the complexity of the drawing, but as a note to anyone who might benefit from my methods, I'll explain why. The first layer is just a frame with the pose and shape of the object. And the second generally has more mass and a little bit of detail, just enough to know what you're working towards and to keep the proportions even. The third is just a layer with more clear detail, but I sometimes use it as the final layer if I don't need to add anything else. I've seen a few artists use this many layers, and if you're like me, who has good days and bad days when trying to draw, it does help a lot, especially when you can't visualize what you're trying to put down. Anyway, moving on to the rider. I decided to make him look a bit like a bard, because only a bard is dumb enough to take a bet that involves riding a boar. Wait, never mind, there's always the barbarian. His square chin and blonde hair kind of make me think of a movie actor, or someone named Flynn. Leave me a suggestion, I think Flynn works. We still need to get a name for the boar though. Okay, so after realizing I was getting a bit carried away and forgetting my original mission of setting a particular art style, I started on yet another layer so I could downgrade. Yeah, real smart, but hey, if I want to draw a boar riding halfling in my style later on, it'll be no problem. Characters in Don't Starve have huge heads, so I amplified the original character's face without removing the details and gave him those huge creepy wide-eyed eyes. I didn't have to change much on the boar boon to match up except for its eyes and the protruding lip to make it look more baboonish. The line work is the most important part of the style, which kind of looks like a pen drawing colored in with markers. I got to work replicating it and realized it was actually pretty easy and fun to do. Okay, so I guess it's back to doing those boring lines with the details you already know. So I suppose you're all wondering how this guy came to be straddling a huge lump of muscle and fury. Well, Flynn is a bard and often goes to taverns as an entertainer, doing tricks and playing music for the common folk. At some point in his career, Flynn started to get a little too overcocky, especially while intoxicated. He would then boast of his feats of strength, endurance and cunning while playing music on his lead ukulele accompanied by an osmium drum. The form of music would later be referred to by the locals as heavy metal, which was both unique and somewhat inconvenient. Later on, a party appeared in town in search of persons to travel with him. Being the best bard around, Flynn was immediately recommended. When the party reached the inn where Flynn had just finished performing a gig, the wizard marveled at the way the halfling managed to stand, albeit wonkily, under the weight of his own instrument. Flynn was keen for adventuring, and the party was happy to have him join, but Flynn was adamant that he would be allowed to bring his precious ukulele. The wizard made a bet with him, saying, "The next stop, Doffleton, is 2 days away. If you can carry that thing as far as that, I'll give you 100 gold and a pair of magical boots. If not, you have to ride the first boar we see in the forest." Normally the boars in the region were small and skittish, but even if this weren't the case, Flynn would have boldly accepted. He fell over 2 hours later from exhaustion. Alright, so I know what you're thinking, but those 2 ovals are supposed to be the baboon buttocks, not something else. Probably an oversight on my part. Try not to think too much about it. The cut is pretty basic and the shadows are minimal as well, so this part of the drawing wasn't particularly interesting. I basically just gave the boar boon some angry looking red eyes and brown to go with his coarse fur. Flynn got some blonde hair and a white shirt, probably just best to keep it simple. I stole a background from the internet. It belongs to Clay, but hopefully no one will get on my case about it. Should be alright. I will admit that after staring at the picture for a while, I felt a little bit weird, so I just gave it a bit of scratchy shading to complement the rough line work. I think to some degree it did spruce it up a little, even though it technically was deviating from the original minimalistic art style. It did, however, give a feeling of texture, so that made the artist inside me feel a little bit better about corrupting it. Okay, so I know I had to explain the rump, so I decided to get down to the bottom of it and remove the unsightly behind before someone gives me the rear end of the deal. Mostly just because they look like a pair of unmentionables. So, there we have it, our completed artwork. I'm still a little unsure whether the boar boon looks baboonish enough, but you can definitely say the boar. Nearly nailed the style, but yeah, it's good enough for me. Also, I should not forget to thank a very wise and mysterious person who goes by the pseudonym Jolly Mr. Roger. He gave me the idea of a character riding a boar as the result of losing a bet, and I really appreciate all the awesome ideas he pitches my way when my reservoirs of artistic creativity occasionally runs dry. Thanks, man. While I'm at it, I'd also like to thank everyone for the encouragement. A very special shout out to an awesome client as well for all the much needed support in growing as an artist. I also can't forget to mention all you peeps who keep egging me on for more videos. I didn't expect my first video to do so well, yet it received quite a large amount of positive feedback. You're all both amazing and horribly annoying. I hope you liked this video though. I'll hopefully be bringing out another one soon, as I don't really feel like I filled in the halfling requirement. Thanks all for watching and all the best. I'll see you next time.